Have you ever been to Walt Disney World? You know what Walt Disney World is? Disney is a magical place. It's magical because when you go there, your money disappears. Oh yeah, you go, everything you own stays in Orlando. Everything. Now, I told you about my son, Josh Brown. If you met Josh Brown, he would introduce himself as Josh Brown. He thinks it's hyphenated, all one word. Josh Brown. We've known about his autism since he was 3 years old. He is the sweetest, most innocent child you'll ever meet in your life. He's 18. He graduates with honors in May. And we are super, super proud of him. Yeah, thank you. This kid discovered Disney when he was 7 years old. And when I say he discovered Disney, he got hooked. I mean, he was a Disney addict. He was 24/7, 365. My dad would have said he harped on it. My wife says he passionately encouraged us about Disney. 24/7, 365, that's all you heard. To this day, at 18 years old, if you go into his room and the TV's on, it's on the Disney Channel. And I'm okay with that. There's a lot worse he could do than Disney. When he was 9 years old, we decided we would make the trip. For 2 years, we listened to this kid talk about it. And we wanted to make sure that he could actually enjoy the trip and that it wasn't so overwhelming for me. I'm not a good vacation taker. Never have been. My idea of a vacation was always working from somewhere other than the office. Anybody with me? You know the type. So we wanted to make sure he could enjoy it and that I was ready to take a mental break. In fact, my wife made me sign a contract that said no work on this trip. We are taking our baby boy to Disney for 8 days, and you are going to be fully present and accounted for. Understood? Yes, ma'am, I understand. Guys, you know you would have done the exact same thing. So we decided to make this trip to Disney. Josh Brown is 9 years old. Now, a little something about Josh. Josh is a planner. Josh likes everything spelled out. No surprises. Everything needs to be routine. Don't screw up his schedule. He likes to know what's going to happen next. My wife's background is accounting and finance. We showed up at Walt Disney World with a spreadsheet. No joke. Everything we were going to do, every ride, every park, every attraction, every meet and greet, everything spelled out by the minute. We show up at Walt Disney World 4 hours ahead of our luggage. Not a big deal. We've got our plan. We decide to go exploring, get a lay of the land, kind of get ready for the next day. Josh's big adventure starts tomorrow morning. Our luggage finally shows up. We're back in our room. It's about 8:30. We're not really tired, but we're ready to go to bed, kind of get the next day going. So we're all laying in bed. Nobody's asleep. Everybody's got their eyes closed, but we weren't really asleep. There was an old commercial. There was an old Disney commercial. You might remember it. Little boy's laying in bed the night before Disney, and his eyes are closed, but he's kind of giggling under his breath. And his mom says, "Honey, you've got to go to sleep." And he goes, "But I'm so excited." That was me. I was so excited for this trip. This was the trip of a lifetime. When we drove through the Disney gates, that arch with the big mouse head on top of it, when we drove through those gates, I looked in the rearview mirror and Josh's eyes were as big as saucers. I knew in his young mind, he got a glimpse of what he believes heaven looks like. Day one, we get up, we're excited. Josh Brown, where are we eating breakfast? Dad, we're gonna eat in this hotel. We're gonna ease you into this. No trams, no lines. Good news. Now, confession, and this, I'm just telling you this because we're friends. This is not that funny. I thought we were friends, Todd. Mr. Delicious. Where are we going to eat breakfast? Dad, we're going to eat in this hotel. Now, I told my wife I wouldn't work, but I did not promise not to pay attention to what Disney's doing. I'm in the people business. You're in the people business. Certainly, I'm at the customer service mecca of the universe. They're going to do something that's going to be magical, and I want to be able to capture it because I want to take it back and share it with the people that I work with. So my antenna's up. I'm paying attention. We go downstairs. Hostess greets us. Giant smile. "Welcome, Brown family. We're so glad you're here. We have the tables picked out just for you." And I'm making a mental note like, "Oh, you people are good. You people. Brown family, table just for us." She takes us to our table, and then she tops it off with, "Brown family, we're so glad you're here. We hope you have a magical day." Have a magical day. Waitress comes over. Waitress has no smile. She actually looks a little ticked off. She doesn't look like she's had a very good morning. She comes over and she says, "Can I take your drink order?" I said, "Yeah, you can take our drink order." And my wife jumps in and she says, "Before we do that, I need to tell you that my son is on a special diet. There's a lot of things he can have, a lot of things he can't have. No wheat, no dairy." The waitress puts her hand in my wife's face and says, "I'm not going to be able to take your order. You're going to need to speak to the executive chef." Now, in my mind, I'm saying, well, why don't you just go get this person? But I didn't say that because there was also an unspoken conversation going on between my wife and I. And guys, back me up on this. You've had nonverbal communication, right, with your spouse? You know how this works. Here's how the conversation went. "Right now, I just need you to keep your mouth shut, Kevin. I don't need Captain Freakout to make an appearance. I need you to let me handle this. We are here for our child. These people don't report to you. Please be quiet." I answered with a nonverbal "yes, ma'am." Waitress disappeared. Now listen, I'm not an unforgiving person. I understand people can have a bad day, even at Disney. Maybe she had car trouble, maybe the kids made her mad, maybe her husband made her mad, like that could happen. You know, maybe things just weren't going her way. Maybe, this is just a guess on my part, but maybe somebody forgot to tell her she works at the happiest place on earth. I don't know. You would think they would cover that in orientation. Apparently not. From the back of the restaurant comes the executive chef, easy to recognize. Big white coat, big white Chef Boyardee hat. She comes out, giant smile, comes to our table, looks at Josh Brown and says, "Good morning, sunshine." He lowers his head and he says, "Good morning." He's super shy. She said, "My name's B. I understand someone's on a special diet. How can I help?" She takes out a notepad and she starts talking to my wife. My wife starts to explain everything that Josh Brown can have and everything Josh Brown can't have. She's writing it down. She's taking her notes. Then she starts to ask questions. What does he like? How often does he get that? How do you make that? Really, what's in that? Interesting. Fascinating. She closes her book. She looks at Josh Brown. She says, "Okay, sunshine, what's for breakfast?" He lowered his head and he said, "Apple pancakes, please." It's his favorite. She said, "Oh, sunshine, I'm so sorry. I can't do apple pancakes. Your mom told me how she makes them, but I don't have the ingredients to make those for you. How about some bacon and eggs and some special toast?" He nodded. She left. Miss Personality came back, took the rest of our order. We ate. We left. We were satisfied. It's an interesting point I want to make about being satisfied. A great friend of mine, her name is Kelly Swanson. Kelly says, nobody notices normal. You see, nobody notices when we just show up and do our jobs. Nobody notices when we just show up and deliver what's required to the customer. Nobody notices when we just do it like everybody else. Isn't that true? There's only 2 times that we go to social media, folks. When we exceed expectations, when somebody knocks it out of the park, we go tweet and flutter and Facebook and all that stuff about it. I don't know what it is. I told you I have a landline. The other time that they take to the internet to talk about us is when we completely screw it up. You see, nobody notices normal. Nobody notices when was the last time you went through a drive-thru and you went home and you were bragging about, wow, you're not going to believe this. Today I got it my way, finally. I never get it my way at the drive-thru. Oh, except one place, my very number 1 favorite restaurant, Chick-fil-A. Y'all know what Chick-fil-A is, right? Yeah. You pull up to Chick-fil-A in Gallatin, Tennessee, where I live. You pull up to the speaker. "Welcome to Chick-fil-A. My name is Katie. It will be my..." It's weird that you know her. "It will be my pleasure to serve you." I place my order. I drive to the window. I give her my money. She gives me my food, and I say thank you. And she says, "Sir, it was my pleasure to serve you." It's 2 pleasures. If I'm having a bad day, I will go through and order 1 item at a time. You can get 6 or 8 pleasures in 1 trip through Chick-fil-A. Do you know what Chick-fil-A invented? It's written on the side of their box. The chicken sandwich. That's what they say they invented. Do you know what I think they invented? Teenagers with manners. Yeah. Here's what's interesting. Here's what's interesting about what Chick-fil-A does. You understand they're hiring from the same group of kids that everybody else is hiring from. They're hiring from the same group of kids that every other fast food restaurant in my town hires from. They have access to the same labor pool. They're buying their supplies from the same suppliers. So what's different about what they do? Why do those kids show up and say it's my pleasure at Chick-fil-A, but they don't do it anywhere else in my town? It's a fascinating study. I tell my people all the time, you want to understand what culture looks like? If you want to understand what healthy customer service looks like, go to Chick-fil-A and learn it from a 17-year-old kid named Katie. Because she'll teach you everything you need to know about how to treat people and to do it well. It's not because they write it on the walls, it's because they write it on their hearts. And their bosses and the owners and the founders live it out every single day. They stand on principle and say, we're going to be closed on Sunday because that's the day people should be with their families. Industry thought they were crazy. Yeah. All the experts said they're crazy, and yet they outproduce everybody else 6 days a week when the others are open 7. Why? Because they stood on what's most important, and they understand the value of people. And the people, they understand that it's not just the people driving through there that they're serving, it's the people on the inside that they're serving. You say it in your core values, your family. You can't do this without each other. Each other is just as important as the people walking through the door. Isn't that true? They invented teenagers with manners. I'm in line at a McDonald's recently in my town. And I go to the speaker and I place my order and I get to the first window where you pay them money. And I paid her my money, she gave me my change, and before I pulled away I noticed this big yellow sign right behind the cash register. Big black letters. It's my pleasure. She didn't say it. Interesting. It's not enough to write it down. It's not enough to say do this. If they're not buying it in here, it's not coming out of here. And see, what Chick-fil-A knows is not only can they influence their culture, they can transform an entire industry. Now they're influencing the other people in their space. The other people are coming along saying, why is it different over there? Why is it different at Helzberg Diamonds? What do they do that's different than everybody else? How do they get done what they get done? How do they look like they're playing in a completely different space than everybody else? It's because they create an epic experience. They exceed expectations. They take responsibility for their attitude, their actions, and their results every single time. Day 2 at Disney. Josh Brown, where are we eating breakfast? I want to go see Aunt B. I looked at my wife, confused look. She's seen it a million times. Who? Aunt B. My wife says, chef. Her name was B, B-E-A. Dad, I want to go see Aunt B. Buddy, we've got a spreadsheet, man. We are supposed to go over to the Grand Floridian this morning. He said, Dad, I want to go see Aunt B. Guess where we went? We went to see Aunt B. We went downstairs, no reservation. Hostess greets us, Brown family, no problem. We have a table just for you. Takes us to the exact same table we were at the day before. Guess who's working our section? Miss Personality. And she still hadn't got the memo. She didn't even make it to our table. She just went to the back of the restaurant. And from the back of the restaurant, Aunt B, making a beeline to our table, smiling. I mean, when this woman moved, when this woman walked around, it was like the song Whistle While You Work was just coming out of her. I found myself humming It's a Small World as she got closer to the table. She just drew us in. She got to the table, she says, good morning, sunshine, to which I promptly said, good morning. She said, I'm not talking to you. Good morning, sunshine. Josh Brown lowers his head, good morning. What's for breakfast, sunshine? Apple pancakes, please. You got it, baby. No problem. Time out, Aunt B. You remember us from yesterday? Yeah. Do you have your notes from yesterday? Yes, I wrote everything down. But Aunt B, you didn't have this yesterday. Why are you calling me Aunt B? That's fair. That's fair. I'm sorry. Sorry. But I'm curious. You said you didn't have the stuff yesterday. I didn't. Today you do. Yes. Where did you get it? The store. Oh. So you sent somebody to the store. She said, no, I stopped on my way home. We have them all over Florida. Anybody can go. Let me make a note. Give the customer what they want, whether we serve it or not. Interesting. You see, people who go the extra mile, people who create an experience that exceeds expectations understand the ... They understand responsibility. They understand that, there's an old motivational quote that says, if it's to be, it's up to me. That's not what happens in most companies. In most companies, if it's to be, don't look at me. Somebody else's job. My plate's full. I can't do that. This is the executive chef at Walt Disney World. Why would you do that? I thought that's what he wanted. How did you know we would be back? I didn't. But I assumed there might be other kids who have a special diet, who might want Apple Pancakes. Guess where we ate every day for 8 days?